¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Yellow King, Cosmic Seeking, Michael Hassler. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that, folks. I am still feeling a bit under the weather, so we'll see. We'll try to get through all of this. Yes, subscribe to the YouTubes. It really does help us out. I appreciate that. All right. Sharpie Diesel, how's it going? Welcome. All right, let's get this show started so that I can try to get through as much as possible. All right, let's start here, I think. I think we can start here.
During an appearance with Fox News host Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, a very sad Marjorie Taylor Greene admitted that, by golly, she just doesn't have the support from Republicans in the House of Representatives to impeach President Biden at this time. It's very disappointing for her, considering the fact that ever since President Biden was sworn in on January 20th, 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene, on multiple different instances, has introduced articles of impeachment. She has been one of the most ardent supporters of impeachment, again, filing articles half a dozen times at least. And now she's like, well, don't really have the numbers to do it because she doesn't have the evidence to back it up.
Right, and like the whole point of like some of these hearings too, to try to like tie the whole like Hunter Biden thing with Joe Biden. Nope. Still gotta do covering this. I haven't seen this yet. Yeah, I try to get through that's the kind of stuff that I like to cover. Let me see. I think it's oh yeah, here we are. I mean, like, there's a bunch of articles, but this one's just kind of like the first one that popped up. There's a few articles, but it's pretty much an example. Republicans finally admit that they have no incriminating evidence on Biden. The Republicans' big investigation to the Biden crime family has revealed, well, not a lot. Yeah. Phenomenal emotes. The House GOP accused Joe Biden and his family on Wednesday of engaging business with foreign entities, but were unable to provide any actual evidence linking the president to any wrongdoing. As opposed to, like, there was actually evidence on the other side, wasn't there? Didn't Trump get accused of having his children benefit from like foreign trade deals?
And this, of course, would be the first time that she's actually admitted that she can't do what she's been promising to do. So here's how the exchange took place on Fox News. Maria Bartiromo asks, do you feel you have enough votes in the membership to actually impeach Joe Biden? Marjorie Taylor Greene responded sadly, I don't think we're there yet, Maria, just to be honest with you. But I hope that the amount of overwhelming evidence that has come out and continues to pour out will convince those members that are still on the fence. And Maria, to be honest with you, I'm so thankful you're covering this issue because it's been a full blackout from the mainstream media. And these members that are still aren't quite sure, aren't quite there to be able to vote for an inquiry, need to hear from the people back home in their districts.
Wait, what? What does that have to do with investigating whether or not a president has done something wrong? What are you on about?
No, you know what they need? It's not to hear from the people in their districts, which, by the way, majority of the public does not support impeaching Biden right now. And the reason is very clear, Marjorie, and you know the reason, right? You're just kind of dancing around the issue, and that is you don't actually have the evidence that you say you have. Like, that's what you're meaning to say. That's what you, I'm sure, want to say. But it's obviously what you cannot say because that undermines what you've been trying to do for 2.5 years. And it undermines all of the work that Republicans have been doing ever since they retook the majority in early January. You don't have anything. And I'm not saying that because I'm some diehard, Biden supporter. I'm saying it as a normal, rational thinking human being that can look at what you've presented and understands that y'all don't have it. Your own members in the Freedom Caucus have said you don't have it.
Right, and they kicked her out, didn't they? Hey, Heat, how's it going? Hello, Ellie. Hi, howdy. There's not even a smoking gun. Yeah, right now, yeah, there's no evidence to, at least for the Republican claims, they have nothing. Is there such a thing as a diehard Biden supporter? I'll be honest, yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. It's strange. It's strange, but I've seen it. I'm not gonna lie. It's also not exactly like the public sentiment is not exactly aligned, but yeah, there are a handful of people that are legitimate, like diehard Biden supporters, like for real. Not like, oh, we're just gonna do this because we have to like stop fascism or whatever. No, I mean there's a very few ardent supporters, like genuine supporters, but they exist. They do exist.
They've had to sheepishly come out and admit after every witness testifies that, oh golly, they didn't give us the smoking gun, and they weren't exactly able to pinpoint Biden's involvement with anything, and but we'll get there with the next one. You just got to give us one more, right? It's just kind of stringing us along and along and along.
Yeah, because they'll never actually like show up with any legitimate charges, right? I mean, if they would have had something like with actual evidence, they would have presented it. I mean, can you imagine if they had legitimate can you imagine if they actually had a legitimate case in front of them? We would never hear the end of it. If they had an actual case with evidence, we would not hear the end of it. This would be like wall-to-wall coverage on Fox News consistently every day, every hour. Yeah, the couple of dark Brandon fans that exist, yes.
And along. It's the party that cried wolf. I mean, honest to God, at this point, you could actually find evidence that President Biden committed a crime, but you cried wolf so many times, the public's gonna be like, we don't care anymore. Like, yeah, right, we don't believe you because everything you've said so far is proven to be untrue. But I gotta say, this is the first time Greene has admitted that she's not there, that they don't have the votes, and they don't have the votes, this is what she won't admit, because they simply do not have the evidence. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
To be fair, they have admitted that they literally have no evidence. Like, the only reason Republicans aren't jumping down jumping on this is because like they can't, right? There's no evidence to come to like make a case here. Otherwise, we wouldn't hear the end of this. It's just that simple. I like the dark Brandon. No evidence hasn't stopped them before, true. Trump has said over 12 times, make me president immediately. Has it happened? No, and it won't. Dark Brandon has only come out after fortnight full moons. True. Just keeps happening, folks.
You would guarantee health care for
Almost anyone is better than Trump. I mean, yeah, like to avoid fascism, yes, but that doesn't mean the person that's in is good too, right? Does that make sense? Gonna need a trigger warning for Jimmy Dore. Alright, well, here's your trigger warning. Okay, I haven't even played it yet. Here's your warning. Trigger warning, okay? Jimmy Dore. I'm not bashing Biden, but the GOP Trump worship is zombie-like. I mean, yeah, but also, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, Biden's fucking up. It's perfectly fine to say that. Giga trigger alert. Yes. You've been warned.
you would guarantee health care for everybody in America?
Well, my best option would be to do that. I don't think that you can do that all at once, and I don't think, and I can tell you this.
I mean, it's a simple yes or no question, right? Like, it's really a simple yes or no question. Would you guarantee health care for everybody? Yes. That's it.
That is a battle that I think is polarizing. And
what is polarizing about offering healthcare to everybody? Wait, how's that polarizing? And this is the candidate that some people like Brianna Joy Gray are trying to prop up. Medicare for all or some kind of universal healthcare system isn't really that polarizing. It's actually quite popular. You've seen the screenshots I sent you from Occupy Democrats. I mean, generally speaking, I don't tend to like that account because it's sometimes very cringy. But yes.
that is, because the power of the pharmaceutical industry and the power of the medical cartel that it's just at this point it's too much of a heavy lift. So,
Wait. Hold on. So this is too much of a wait. So offering Medicare for all is too much of a headache because of the pharmaceutical companies? How does that make sense? Wouldn't the problem then be the fact that the pharmaceutical companies are a headache, an impediment to public policy? Wouldn't the takeaway be then you should be harder against them? If the problem is, if the question is like, well, would you guarantee Medicare? Would you guarantee healthcare for all? And your response is, well, this is too much of a headache. This is a polarizing issue. To which he clarifies by saying this is too much of a headache because of the pharmaceutical companies. Well then, motherfucker, why are we even having this conversation? Right? Shouldn't then the immediate response be why are the pharmaceutical companies making this public policy a headache? That's the question. Yeah, it's polarizing with his donors. Exactly. So right off the bat, this dude doesn't care about Medicare for all, any universal healthcare system. We can just write him off of from that policy. He's not going to do it. It's too much of a headache. Mind you, Dimmy, same thing, honestly. Demi Jor also supported Tulsi, who's not only another crank, but also ended up not supporting Medicare for all, while simultaneously claiming to be a progressive, or someone on the left or left-leaning. That's right, Pimtul or Demi Jor.
You're never going to get there. So what I'm going to focus on is things that I can actually do.
So again, the answer he should have just given is no, I'm not going to support Medicare for all. I'm not going to support a universal healthcare system. That would have just been it. No, RFK is not talking about the deep state right now. He's just saying that it's too hard because the pharmaceutical company has a lot of influence. That's what he's saying. He's complaining that the pharmaceutical company has too much influence. Well then, so deal with that, right? Why does the pharmaceutical industry have that much influence? Let me ask, when people say Medicare for all, do folks Medicare only pay 80% of the bill and you have to pay 20%? I think you want a Medicare HMO type plan. Yeah, I mean, I want a system where there's a universal healthcare coverage that covers everybody in this country. That's it. That's as simple as I can put it. As leader of the free world, he's not he'd not be powerful enough for the pharmaceutical industry. Correct.
and not promise people things that I'm not going to be able to do.
What about a public option?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about that.
Yeah.
You could do that. That's what you're saying, but you
Well,
couldn't.
no, I don't even know if you can get it to a public option at this.
So like, yeah, so even when cornered, when given an out, to say like, yeah, all right, fine, I'll just support a public option, which is basically the Biden policy originally, right? That's what he claimed to support. He says, no, I don't even think that's feasible. I recognize the pharmaceutical and the insurance industry's grip is so tight that a public option wouldn't even fly. That would be an HMO type, and your selection of doctors would be limited.
Point with this Congress.
Oh, okay.
But my choice would be.
But
It doesn't matter what Congress you have. The question is what policy you support, right? Because it may be the case that you support Medicare for all and it's never going to fly, but you still support that as a policy proposal and you still try to get it done, regardless of whether or not it's going to fly. That's not the question. We know, like, Republicans aren't going to support any type of healthcare, any type of universal healthcare. It doesn't mean you shouldn't support it, right? Good policy is good policy. Does not matter.
the
It would be
overwhelming
to begin with a public option, and then Medicare. If Medicare for all would take years to work out the kinks to make sure that people like it, that it's popular, that they're doing it right, you need to have a public option during that period anyway. Oh, that's how I do it. I'm not running on that issue because what I'm running on are issues that I think every American is going to be able to get behind.
Like what? Arthur Konstantinov, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Like what? How COVID was engineered to spare Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people? Whatever, dude. Deeply unserious candidate. No reason to even bother with this person.
The once dominant conservative propagandist Steven Crowder is now collapsing before our very eyes. There are some recent employee departures from his company over a new NDA that they were asked to sign, and a discussion around SACTAP. I'll get to that in a bit, but I'll leave that term with your imagination for a second. Yes, SACTAP being a requirement at Crowder's workplace, apparently.
Yeah. This is Steven Crowder we're talking about, so... Yeah, from this point forward, you've been warned, folks. For those of you that haven't seen this video, or for those of you that don't know what's the story behind this, it's exactly what you think it is, and it's going to play out exactly the way you think it is.
So, In this video, I will go over the recent history leading up to these more recent departures. I will show you what they discussed, what they were required to sign, and things are not looking good for Crowder, as I'll get to his stats as well. So, first, this recent controversy with Crowder already begins with the beginning of this year, when he was offered a $50 million contract with Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. So Crowder had left his previous workplace, which I believe was Blaze TV. Then he was sort of kind of free agent, or was independent, could do what he wants, and he was offered this contract, a 4-year contract worth $50 million with the Daily Wire, and he called it a slave contract. So I covered that back then, and just how ridiculous it was for Crowder to pass on that contract, especially now looking at his data, which we will get to in a second here. But following that, there was also a big controversy around this from an insider here. Leaked video seems to show YouTuber Steven Crowder yelling at his pregnant wife for failing to respect men. I covered that in the past as well. It's a really disturbing video. Following that, this happened just recently in July. Groomerish, former employees describe Steven Crowder's sexual harassment. So in case you missed this story, let me give you a bit on this. According to text messages reviewed by the outlet, Crowder sent photos of his genitals to coworkers. He would also allegedly expose his genitals to employees in person so frequently that many of them either laughed uncomfortably or showed outright disgust as a way to give him the attention he sought, as a way to get him to stop. Quote, "The more disgusted everyone seemed, the more pleasure he seemed to get from it. It's like he couldn't understand that we weren't in on his joke," one person told Mediaite.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty gross. And like, what joke? What joke is it, like, to send inappropriate images or expose yourself inappropriately? There's no joke behind it.
And of course, Crowder is, known for doing the typical right-wing content of, oh, look at these groomers. This teacher is teaching their students about the existence of gay people, and that means they must be a groomer. Yet, here you have Crowder exposing himself consistently to his coworkers against their will. Then comes this. Let's check out his stats here. So the Mediaite did a story on this on the 7th. Crowder's empire of hate collapses. They write here, his most recent video on the platform, speaking of YouTube, barely broke 100,000 views, and his preceding video has only 59,000 views. Likewise, with his Rumble account, Crowder's videos once received over 2 million views. He hasn't broken 1 million views on Rumble since May. So taking a look at his...
Excellent. Now that's some news. That's some stats I can get behind. Grown-ass man, supposedly. True. Crowder, the frat boy with a gun holster in a studio. Well, I mean, he's more than just a frat boy, right? He's a far-right, xenophobic piece of shit. He's not just like a frat boy.
Rumble views here. Look at this consistent drop. So he announced some deal with Rumble in early March. And then just down. I believe the spike is around the time when this story about his wife broke. Yeah, so late April, early May. That's when you see the spike here. So there's more interest in Steven Crowder at that point, but then again, dropped off, and it continues dropping off. I also question, how accurate are Rumble's views really? It doesn't have the discoverability that YouTube has. It doesn't have nearly the size of the audience that YouTube has.
True.
So all of this I question, but there is clearly a consistent drop here, regardless of how bolstered or fake the views may be in whatever data they're pushing here. There is still a considerable drop from when he first launched his account. Now we get to today. From Mediaite here, 4 Steven Crowder staffers exit show after interrogations and insane NDAs. So these NDAs were... It makes total sense why... I'm surprised more people didn't leave. I'm not sure how many people he employs, but 4 people left because if they had broke the NDA, they'd be penalized with $100,000.
Jesus. Whoa.
Is this what doing your laundry?
discussing any workplace, whatever's happening in the workplace, if they discussed any of that with, media, whatever, they would owe $100,000. Now, I also question
That's
how
wild.
enforceable the NDA is if part of what you're agreeing to is illegal activity. So here is a bit of the story. Quote, Stephen was livid, a source close to the Rumble host told Mediaite. This is after the initial story came out that I showed you earlier about the sexual harassment. He and Gerald Morgan, the other person that runs the show there, said they knew someone was talking to you, the author of this piece in Mediaite, based on the article you wrote. They said whoever text messaged former employees about us not being able to hang out with them would be given amnesty if we confessed by 2 p.m. If no one confessed, they would see it as malice. No one confessed, so they started interrogating a few people.
Jesus.
During the meeting, Crowder downplayed his sexual misconduct allegations, said another source close to the soon-to-be divorced father of 2. Here's where it gets even crazier. Quote, if you're not okay with guys playing sack tap, then this isn't the place for you, the source said, Crowder told staff, referring to the act of tapping another person's genitals. After the interrogation of current staffers, 4 employees departed the company.
Yeah.
You're required to engage in sack tap if you want to work for Steven Crowder. This is why I question how enforceable the NDA would be, because NDAs don't cover illegal activity. That said, if you're agreeing ahead of time to be groped and to grope others, then is the NDA enforceable? Because you're being told this is going to happen. You must engage in this behavior. This is a part of our workplace. Sack tap is it. You must touch my balls if you want to work here. It's a part of the workplace. So I guess if you're told ahead of time, maybe the NDA is enforceable. I'm not sure about the legality or illegality of these NDAs.
Yeah.
And how they're enforced, but I have to imagine there's some legal questions there about how enforceable
Tap
this
that
NDA.
sack. Never played it. Did they even read the NDA? Not sure. But it seems like if they quote unquote broke the NDA, they'd have to pay $100,000, which is ridiculous.
But when I first read this, I don't know why my mind goes here. I mean, I know why, because I grew up watching Seinfeld. But there's a Seinfeld scene where George is in a job interview at a restaurant, and he's being offered a bite of pie that he doesn't want. And one of the employees there says to him, if you're one of us, you'll take a bite.
If you're one of us, you'll take a bite.
If you're one of us, you'll touch my balls, is how this came off to me. This is just so completely insane. This is the individual that the Daily Wire offered a $50 million contract to. The guy that requires ball touching in his workplace.
If it reduces their sperm count.
It shows just the total rot that is at the heart of conservative media when you have an individual like this worth $50 million over 4 years.
I mean, like, to be fair, like, you don't really need Steven Crowder to prove that point. I mean, just look at, like, Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro. These are abhorrent people. I mean, like Dennis Prager.
But Crowder, of course, he's always after the groomers. He tweeted this out a year ago in May. The best way to appreciate the good teachers out there is to point out and punish the others who are trying to corrupt and groom our children. Teacher Appreciation Week, not Groomer Appreciation Week. Yes, Crowder very worried about the groomers. Touch my balls. is what he's concerned about in his workplace. Last thing here, showing you that their workplace is not improving based on moves like this. Michael Spadone, a former field director at Project Veritas, who was accused of kissing and groping a former colleague in a since-settled lawsuit, has been brought on the Louder with Crowder team. Sources close to Crowder saw it as a questionable hiring decision due to the recent claims against Spadone. So,
I mean, like, why would it be a questionable hire if that's what they're like? If that's the kind of people that they want on their team, if that's the kind of people like Steven Crowder wants, why would that Why would that be a questionable hiring decision? It seems like a perfect fit for Steven Crowder, right? Some like sexual harasser seems perfect for him. Sounds very godly to me, exactly.
This is who they're surrounding themselves with. People like this. I cannot imagine working for someone like that. Look, I understand people are put in precarious positions where, you know, they have bills to pay, right? So if you're stuck at that job, you got some bills to pay, you may force yourself through this. But there has to be other choices out there. If you have the skills of someone working on, you know, a production team, you could probably work somewhere else as opposed to a place where you are required to get your balls touched and touch others' balls. It's just so it's so bizarre. This every accusation from someone like this is admitting that they have something to hide. So Crowder, of course, has been, you know, integral in the right wing sphere in the sense of, you know, accusing others of doing things that are grooming other people. Meanwhile, we have the greatest example of a groomer right here in Steven Crowder.
Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Crowder gets away with sexual aloneness, no one else. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't see him getting any consequences. I mean, like, unless someone steps forward and makes, you know, a report, you know, please consider not doing what you're doing. True. Yes. Much like telemarketers. Also true. I mean, it's no surprise, right, that, like, stories like this come out from people like Steven Crowder. I mean, like, if tomorrow we find out that, like, Matt Walsh has been caught with some questionable stuff, I mean, like, is anybody going to be really surprised? Is anybody going to be surprised? So the New Hampshire Libertarian Party continues to show themselves to just be effectively a far right account. That's it. Like, they just keep tweeting stuff like this. Quote, either all races can express racial pride and solidarity or no race can. Endorsing double standards in this area leads to situations like South Africa. No, I think they're misunderstanding, given the context of, like, where that would even take place. So basically it just leads me to believe that, like, literally what they're saying is that they're angry or they're mad or complaining that they can't just outright say things like white power. That's basically what they're saying. And this is coming off like other questionable tweets, including the 14 words that they decided to post, and telling a black woman, Senator Turner, to pick crops. I mean, like, I mean, it doesn't get any more explicit than this. And this is like supposedly the Libertarian Party. And like, it's not just the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire, although this is the most egregious account because they're the ones that are constantly tweeting like the most outright like Nazi shit. But like, they have the support of other libertarian accounts. Like, especially when that whole like thing with Senator Turner was going down when this account told her that she should pick crops or something like that. Like other libertarian accounts, including like the national one, decided to support them. I wonder if it's one person or a few people. I have no idea. I have no idea if it's one person. I mean, it all tracks as if it's coming from like one train of thought, right? I mean, like, you have tweets like this. You have tweets like this. Unleash the cops. Right, this is the same party. Like, how do you simultaneously say that you don't want, like, how do you simultaneously say that you don't want government, but also support like cops to clear bums and vagrants? And of course, like, not white-collar criminals, right? Or insider traders. Inside traders. Right. Not those. Reparations are owed to the descendants of enslaved black Americans 4 hours ago from Nina Turner. True. They just want to be able to say the N-word without consequence. Right. Also, privatize the police. What are you talking about? And then, like, they tweet stuff like this, like the literal 14 words. Like, so much so. So basically mercenaries. Yep. International Cat Day today. I forgot. Oh, shoot. Then I gotta bring I gotta bring one of the cats in here before I go. Welcome to Mayor McCheese. DF is a libertarian child, a white child. That's it. Like, that's literally what they mean. Look at what the Canadian military tweeted, the Canadian Armed Forces. Alright, we'll take a look. And, like, so much so that even, like, the Georgia Libertarian Party, because I guess they changed their account. It said formerly known as Libertarian Party of GA. Even they were like, here in Georgia, we want to secure the existence of all people, including children with a future of freedom that allows people to choose. You do your thing for you, but we'll keep fighting for the freedom for all. So basically, like, they acknowledge what was going on here, and they were like, I don't know about that one, Chief. So I guess they, like, stopped, they gave up on this. The thing that gets me curious is why libertarians all end up debating about the age of consent. True. This is not a trap question or trolley or some shit. How do you feel towards Hasnabi as a streamer? Wait, why is that a trolley question? How do I, like, I don't know. To be honest, I don't watch a lot of Hassan. Privatize the police equals make my murder squad legal, please. Yep. Judgment-free zone, welcome. Alright, let's look at the Canadian Armed Forces. Is it this one? That's funny. Well, since it's international, they used AI. Yep. Zeoduke, how's it going? AI art, yeah. Since it is International Cat Day, I'm gonna bring out one of the cats before I go.
Scary tipping point by Will we see a scary tipping point by 2025? And where did the US build its first nuclear power plant in 3 decades? It's time for this week's climate recap. Hit the subscribe button below if you want to stay updated on the climate crisis and clean energy transition. World Weather Attribution researchers released an analysis finding that, unsurprisingly, human-induced climate change played a large role in the extreme heat we saw around the world last month.
Yep. Hope you're having a good day. I'm doing all right. I'm just getting better from a cold. That's right. One more view for the Beckosphere. That's right.
The WWA was formed in 2015 to determine how climate change has influenced the intensity and likelihood of certain extreme weather events using weather observation and climate modeling. It partners with the Imperial College London, the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute, and the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center. It's becoming a great tool for journalists to cover how climate change impacts the events we often experience. In this analysis, the WWA found that climate change made China's heat wave 1 degree Celsius hotter, Southern Europe 2.5 degrees hotter, and North America 2 degrees hotter than they would have been without increased emissions. Without climate change, the heat wave in China would have only happened once every 250 years, and the North American heat wave would have been virtually impossible. If the planet warms to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, we could see these heat waves every 2 to 5 years. Overall, July was very likely the hottest month in recorded human history, and 2023 might very well become the hottest year we've seen yet. While this news is disturbing, a different study took the award for the most terrifying study to come out in the last 4 weeks, especially with all the news coverage it's gotten. The study, published in the journal Nature Communications, sees climate change causing the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC, to slow down and weaken at a faster rate than scientists originally thought.
Yeah, remember we covered this story. That was a pretty alarming story. Black YouTube and their giant context banners.
AMOC is a global oceanic conveyor belt that transports warm, salty water from the tropics to the North Atlantic, which then cools and sinks to go back down south. An influx of cold freshwater from the rapidly melting Arctic is knocking the circulation out of rhythm. Without this circulation, weather patterns would get stuck for longer in one place, something we're already seeing now for heat waves and snowstorms alike. A study published in 2021 found that the AMOC has already slowed down by 15% since the 1950s, making it the slowest it's been in 1,200 years. At a certain point, AMOC could permanently switch to a new normal, making it a fragile global tipping point to watch out for. This system collapse inspired the 2004 Day After Tomorrow movie, which heavily dramatized what will happen. This shift will cause Northern Europe to become more like Alaska and the tropics to have little relief from the heat. It would also cause stronger storms in the eastern U.S. But how fast AMOC could shift is up for debate among scientists. This most recent paper suggests AMOC could shift anytime from 2025 to 2095. That's a big range, and the paper's authors from the University of Copenhagen gave it a low probability that the AMOC will shift during the earlier part of that range. This study is also at odds with the latest United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC's, report, which gave medium confidence that the AMOC wouldn't shift until the end of the century. The studies use slightly different methodologies to come up with their conclusions, and if you want to learn more about those methods, I'll link.
And the snow crabs are being decimated. Yep. I mean, like, even if we took the most conservative approach, which is like in 2095, that's not a lot. That's really not that far. That's really not that far to, in the grand scheme of things. 2095 is not exactly, what, that's 70 something years from now? 72 years from now? Yeah, 72. All right, cool. I still got it. I still got the maths. Yeah, 72 years from now is not really that far. It is a possibility that people's kids will be alive, although, you know, they'll be older at that point, but there'll be kids that will be alive by that point. Good luck, I'll be out of here by then. I think I think I would be too.
Link the articles on the topic in the source list for further reading. Overall, scientists seem pretty split on when they think this shift would happen, but all their reports rely on global emissions continuing at their current trajectory, which is something that humans can still influence. This tipping point is not set in stone, and it just further emphasizes the need for immediate emissions reduction. What do you think about the AMOC tipping point? When do you think that it would tip? Let me know your thoughts below. The third most emitting country, India, announced in June that it will pause building new coal-fired power plants in the next 5 years to instead prioritize its clean energy transition. India gets about 3/4 of its energy from coal right now, but has a goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2070. Every 5 years, the most populous country comes up with its energy goals. And while it still has coal plants in the works that were already approved, it decided instead of building 8,000 megawatts of new coal capacity by 2027, it would invest in building out more than 8,600 megawatts of battery storage to provide clean energy 24/7. Solar will be a huge source of energy generation for India in the future, and because the country is experiencing longer, hotter summers than it used to, most energy demand is now during the day to keep cool. The perfect time for solar to take over the demand. Overall, India plans to install 550 gigawatts of clean energy by 2030, which means it would need to increase how much it installs from 17 gigawatts a year to 40 to 45 gigawatts a year to reach that goal. What do you think of India's new energy plans? Let me know, especially if you live in India.
I mean, it's more than we're doing right now, I think. Conscious Canuck, how's it going? Southern Europe is literally being turned into TARDIS lately. Sheesh. Well, my friend, hoping my kid will be around. I mean, it's quite possible. Think about it. Oh, shoot. I just, there we go.
Canada became the first G20 country to release a framework for phasing out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. G20 countries promised to do this all the way back in 2009. Fulfilling this promise was part of Prime Minister Trudeau's 2022 deal with the New Democrat Party. The framework applies to existing tax measures and 129 non-tax measures. We don't know much more specifics because Ottawa hasn't published an inventory on which subsidies would be impacted or put a dollar value on it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of loopholes for fossil fuels to avoid losing subsidies too. Fossil fuel activities will be exempt from the framework if they fall into one of these 6 categories: enabling significant carbon emissions reductions, supporting clean energy, providing essential energy to a remote community or short-term support for an emergency response, supporting Indigenous participation in fossil fuel activities, or are projects that have a credible plan to reach net zero by 2030. For that last one, the framework puts a lot of faith in carbon capture and storage technology effectively decarbonizing fossil fuel processes, despite the growing body of research showing CCS projects fail to capture as much as they claim. The framework also doesn't apply to public financing of fossil fuel projects through government-owned crown corporations, but a framework tackling that financing is expected to be released next year. Speaking of relying on carbon capture and storage for decarbonization, Britain's Prime Minister Sunak has now stated that even though Britain has a goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, he believes a quarter of the energy the country will use by mid-century will come from fossil fuels. I'm sorry, but there's no way to describe that beyond delusional. In that vein, Sunak committed Britain to more than 100 oil and gas extraction leases in the North Sea starting in the fall, claiming it'll increase energy independence and be less emissions intensive than importing liquefied natural gas. Sunak said hundreds of more leases could also be granted
or use renewable sources that would achieve both of those things, right? You could achieve more energy independence by making sure that your energy runs on renewable sources. And you could also bypass the emissions from having to import liquid natural gas if you're not dependent on fossil fuels.
In the near future. He also announced support for 2 new CCS clusters in Scotland and Northern England. Climate activists accuse Sunak of trying to greenwash the new extraction leases with the announcement of the carbon capture facilities, which couldn't take up enough to make up for the amount of new emissions created by these projects. Oops, I'm sure this has nothing to do with the deal that was recently made. Recent reporting puts Sunak's judgment on energy project decisions more into question. Just 2 months before this lease announcement, the Indian IT giant Infosys signed a $1.5 billion deal with BP. Sunak's wife's family partially owns Infosys. What do you think of these developments?
Not surprising. Not surprising. Too many of the large-scale solutions are still in their pre-scale state. It's very frustrating. Yeah, and it's frustrating because we've... all the time that we've wasted decades ago that we could have been moving in this direction. We're now so behind that it feels like we just don't have time. It feels like we just don't have the time.
Let me know, especially if you're in the UK. In the US, the Interior Department recently proposed a rule that would increase how much money energy companies must pay to lease public lands for oil and gas production from 12.5% royalties to 16.67%. Acres must cost at least $10 instead of originally $2. Geez, that's still cheap. What would be less cheap is that the minimum lease bond would go up from $10,000 minimum to $150,000 minimum. About time, because it's been only $10,000 since the 1960s. Inflation has happened since then. This matters because bonds are used as collateral for cleaning up a site after a fossil fuel company's done destroying it. For a while now, taxpayers have had to foot the bill because the bond was so cheap, and usually companies would just go bankrupt so they don't have to pay for it at all. The new rule would also give the Bureau of Land Management more power to reject projects near sensitive ecosystems and cultural sites. The proposed rule is now up for public comment, and environmental groups seem split on approving this move or considering it too little too late, because it doesn't block drilling on public lands. It just makes it slightly more inconvenient. Where do you stand?
They need to do more. I don't know if anyone is saying that petrochemical companies don't need computer systems or what, but they don't have a good look. No, petrochemical companies do not.
The Biden administration also just broke ground on an important transmission line that will transport energy from North America's largest wind farm located in rural Wyoming to large West Coast cities like Las Vegas and LA. The Chokecherry and Sierra Madre wind project cost $5 billion, and its 600 turbines will generate 3,000 megawatts starting in 2027. It's located in Carbon, Wyoming, which used to be a coal mining hub before the mine shut down. Many people in the town are excited for the new jobs the wind farm will develop. The Trans-West Express Transmission Project will run 732 miles through northwestern Colorado and central Utah to southern Nevada, interconnecting with other power systems along the way. The construction will create more than 1,000 jobs. Georgia Power Co., a subsidiary of Southern Co., announced that Unit 3 of Plant Vogtle is officially in commercial operation, making it the first nuclear plant to join the U.S. grid in 3 decades. It will generate 1,100 megawatts to power about 500,000 homes and businesses. Utilities in Georgia, Florida, and Alabama will receive the electricity along with 2.7 million Georgia Power customers. Unfortunately, this energy addition will cost residents $4 more a month because of how much over budget these projects went. Unit 3, which started to be built back in 2009, was originally supposed to be completed in 2016. Unit 4 will add to this cost too, which is expected to be up and running around March 2024. The 2 units were supposed to cost $14 billion, but instead they ended up costing $35 billion. Experts testifying before the commission said that the construction cost went so over budget that it wiped out any future benefit from low nuclear fuel costs. People close to the project also criticized the utility company of forcing the excess cost on consumers while it reaps the profits from the project. For example, this is how a Southern Environmental Law Center staff attorney described this situation in a statement. Quote, while capital-intense and expensive projects may benefit Georgia Power's shareholders who have enjoyed record profits through Vogtle's beleaguered construction, they are not the least cost option for Georgians who are feeling the sting of repeated bill increases. Yikes. It'll be up to commissioners to determine if they'll let Georgia Power Co. get away with this. Southern Co. says it doesn't plan to make any more large nuclear power plants after these projects. Most U.S. companies are banking on small nuclear reactor technology to avoid these cost hikes and construction timeline delays in the future, as nuclear is becoming more recognized as a carbon-free, consistent form of energy. What do you think of this situation? Let me know.
Surprise, surprise. The company's trying to, what's the saying? Privatize the gains and socialize the cost? Yeah. No surprises. 1,000 jobs, that's like 35% of Wyoming's population. True.
Especially if you've been impacted by the ratepayer hikes. I never thought we'd actually get a solution to this next story that I first covered in May of 2022. That's the decaying Yemen oil tanker that's been stranded off Yemen's Red Sea coast for the last 30 years. The UN recently announced that it began removing oil from the tanker to avoid an environmental catastrophe. Let's back up so I can explain this drama. The old ship off Yemen is ironically called the FSO Safer. It was built in 1976 and it can carry 1.14 million barrels of oil. That's 4 times as much oil as the Exxon Valdez spilled off Alaska in 1989. Yemen tried to maintain it in 2015, but a war with the Saudi-led coalition prevented it from doing so. A little complicated, but what matters now is that it could leak at any minute or even explode, and that would cause a severe environmental and humanitarian disaster. The fishing industry along that coast would be ruined in a country that already needs way more humanitarian aid than it's getting. The coastline environments like coral reefs and mangrove forests will die, and the cleanup cost is estimated to be $20 billion. Early in 2022, the UN appealed to the international community for $144 million to offload the decaying Yemen oil tanker before it breaks. I guess it got the money because the UN sent a ship called Yemen to suck the oil out of the Safer. They've already started the process. Thank heavens. I can't wait for oil spills to be a thing of the past, don't you? And that was your climate recap for the week. If you found this information useful, please like and share this video so more people can see it. Remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to support your local news organizations.
Based. All right, cool. All right, folks. We're gonna kind of just scroll through some of these. Judge orders hearing after Trump lawyers say proposed protective order would infringe on Trump's speech. This is referencing the protective order that Jack Smith is asking for after Trump pretty much threatened him and the, I guess, prosecution. Former President Trump's legal team says a protective order proposed by the special counsel would infringe on Trump's right to free speech. Free speech doesn't protect threats. Like, you can't just say, like, I'm going to come after you, especially knowing how much influence you have and how many people you have as followers who are willing to do stuff on your behalf. That's not free speech. You're not allowed to just threaten, this prosecution, right? You can't just do that. Trump's attorney made the argument in their response Monday to special counsel's motion for a protective order over the discovery evidence in the case against Trump for allegedly seeking to overturn the 2020 election. Yeah, his truth, I can't even call it truth because it's not the truth, but whatever. His post is not free speech. Trump has pleaded not guilty to charges of undertaking a criminal scheme to overturn the election results. By enlisting a slate of so-called fake electors targeting several states, including and using the Justice Department to conduct sham election crime investigations and trying to enlist the vice president to alter the election results in an effort to subvert democracy and remain in power. I mean, like, the fact that this is even a thing is ludicrous. The fact that this happened is ludicrous. But here we are. The former president has formally denied any wrongdoing and dismissed the probe as politically motivated. Monday's filing argues for narrow limits on the protective order, which Trump's attorney would say would protect sensitive materials while ensuring Trump's right to free speech. In a trial about First Amendment rights, no, this trial is not about First Amendment rights at all. This trial has nothing to do with First Amendment rights at all. The government seeks to restrict First Amendment rights. Nope. It's not what this is about. Worse, it does so against its administration's primary political opponent. During an election season in which the administration, prominent party members, and media allies have campaigned on the indictment and proliferated its false allegations. Well, if they're false, then prove it. Right? Just craft an order that he owes $10 million for every infraction, and who either shut his hole or his base and his political empire will be bankrupted. Either works for me. Very unwise commenting on cases for Trump and is out on bond. Well, I mean, this is Trump's defense against the protective order, right? So they're trying to paint it as some kind of like political motivation to interfere in the election, which is not the case at all. Smith's indictment against Trump unsealed last week disputes that he is being charged for exercising his First Amendment rights, instead alleging that he perpetrated 3 criminal conspiracies as unlawful means of discounting legitimate votes and subverting election results. Right. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment right. Like, he's not being charged. Like, he's not indicted because he exercised his First Amendment right. That's not how this works. Can you imagine? Like, it doesn't even make sense on its surface. You can't be indicted for exercising free speech. Like, you cannot be indicted for that. That's not why he got indicted. That's not why he's in trouble. Thankfully, your lawyer, bail bond, and judge will explain the bail conditions to you. While out on bail, you must obey all laws. I mean, like, is he out on bail? Or how does that work? Nobody said his followers were the sharpest knives. True. Oh, he's out on bond. Okay, gotcha. Like, can you imagine if you got arrested for exercising your First Amendment right? Like, what would the crime be exactly? There's no statute for that because it's in the Constitution. You have a right to a First Amendment right to free speech, which means that you can say anything disparaging of the government. The government can't tell you specifically what you can and cannot say. And the government specifically cannot enforce upon you a religion, right? Which is pretty ironic coming from the right. But anyways, the point being is that no, he's not being indicted for exercising his First Amendment rights of free speech, okay? He's being indicted for criminal conspiracy, okay? Smith asked the judge for protective order on Friday, referencing a social media post that Trump made on Friday in which he said, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you," which is pretty explicit to me. It's illegal to yell fire when there's no fire. Damn, my free speech is gone. But it's not because you, for doing everything right, yeah. I think the point is that you can't say... The reason why it's illegal to yell fire when there's no fire is because it causes a panic, right? So it wouldn't be... The crime wouldn't be you exercise your right to free speech. It would be you incited a public panic, or you incited some kind of like... what is it? You not incited a riot, but you... something to do with like a public disturbance, right? It wouldn't be because you yelled out fire. Oh wait, yeah, sorry. You could be charged with disorderly conduct, inciting a riot, or other charges. Yeah, maybe public endangerment. So like, yeah, it's not the act of you yelling fire, because like if you yell fire in a theater, or if you yell fire and like there's no fire but nobody listens to you and nothing happens, and there's no crime, right? It's not the act of you speaking the magic words. Sorry. Ooh. I'm exhausted, folks. It's the after effects. The same thing goes with like saying bomb in an airport, right? You would immediately get tackled because that can be perceived as a threat, or that could cause some kind of riot or public endangerment, whatever. Know the consequences of your actions. Yes. Indicted for doing everything right. ADT is human, y'all. True. Follow the whole arc and go a few layers deep to determine the type of speech that is not protected. The type of speech that is not protected is very, very explicit, right? You can't threaten people. You can't tell people to like commit crimes. You can't coerce people into committing crimes by threatening them with your speech. A president can't go up and start like inciting riots. That's not speech that is protected. A president or a former president cannot go on social media and like threaten the prosecution. Like this is like things that you cannot do. I think it's pretty clear. In a statement issued after Smith's filing on Friday, the Trump campaign said the post was aimed at political interest groups. No. What political interest groups are after Trump right now? Other than like maybe Biden, but like there's no serious Republican threat to Trump right now in the primary. He's like double digits away. So what political interest groups is he talking about? He never really specified that. And furthermore, this post was in context of the crimes, of the investigations. This was after the indictment. The whole basis of Trump's assault against the election was one lie after another, with the intent to disenfranchise people of their election's legal outcome. Yes, that's what this whole indictment's about. Scatafron, thank you for the raid. I appreciate that. Welcome. Scatafron raiding with a party of 33. Welcome, everybody. Red Soviet Bones, welcome. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Big Bad Boom, welcome. Welcome. Folks, if you have not seen me before, I'm A Difficult Truth. I do the news, I do the politics Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoy your stay here, then hit the follow button. It really does help us out. I appreciate that. Thank you, folks. And while we're at it, please take a moment to follow twitch.tv/Scatafron. I hope I got that right. There's the link there. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. How is coping about Trump's indictment going? It's going phenomenal. In fact, it almost sounds like you're the one that's coping. Like, how am I coping by reporting on what's happening? Does that sound like coping? Like, I don't think you actually understand what the word means. I brought some right-wingers and Russians. They're mostly friendly. Oh, I'll roast them just the same. It's all good. I'll fry them here just the same. It doesn't matter to me. Like, if you come here and you think that... if you think that they're gonna come here and troll, nah, that's not how this works. Nice and friendly people. I certainly hope so. Not covering the big guy's crimes. The big guy's crimes. Trump? We're covering the big guy's... We're covering his crimes right now. We're talking about him right now. Mr. Biden. Oh, what crimes is he being accused of? I wasn't aware. Aaron, how's it going? How are we coping with the prospect of the biggest clown in the U.S. wearing orange for the rest of his life while also being orange? Yeah, quite well. He sold his office for his crackhead son. Oh, he did? Oh, shit. This is news to me. Damn. News to me because last time I checked, even the Republicans admitted that they had actually no evidence of any of that. Some here don't speak English, but most do. That's fine. The road to despotism. Through Trump? Yeah, true. I'm guessing you don't know who Devin Archer or Tony Bobulinski are? Nah, don't need to. I don't need to. Listen, if there is any evidence of Biden committing any crimes, then feel free to present it and actually present cases that, you know, would be prosecutable. Otherwise, I don't really give a shit, to be honest. From an outside perspective, I'm dating some division. America's driving you apart. The Biden-Trump shit. Well, it's them, isn't it? It's them. I can't help. I can't help if you aren't even able to meet people on a basis of reality, right? Like, you can't say that there's a division when one side is literally living in a complete la-la land. They're living in fantasy. They believe that an election was stolen, as an example. Like, how do we reconcile that? How do we reconcile that? That's your take, and that causes division. The same, they feel the same you do. You're misunderstanding the point. No, I'm saying that the fact that, like, there's a the fact that it's the division, it's not on the left. That's on them. That's on them. There is a division and you're illustrating it. Yeah, I'm illustrating one side is living in reality and the other isn't. I mean, it's pretty clear cut. Does that make sense? I mean, to me it makes sense. Maybe no one is really living in reality. That doesn't make sense because there is objective reality. Well, trust me, I'm not either, but you're the one doing the thing. Well, what do you mean by doing the thing? Maybe no one's living in reality. That doesn't mean anyone understands that objective reality. Maybe. That's not on me, though. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm presenting the claim, here's an example. If I'm presenting the claim that I don't know, flat Earth is obviously bullshit, and then, like, someone tells me, like, oh, but there's two sides to this. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. There's clear, objective, verifiable facts that the Earth is not flat. Right? Does that make sense? There's clear, verifiable ways of seeing that the Earth is not flat, and I'm not going to cede that. Right? I'm not going to cede that and say there's two sides to this. Does that make sense? The divisiveness in the U.S. is causing all this. You're on the other side saying that the opposition is delusional. Well, one is. Like, and delusional, I mean that in the literal sense, right? Like, living disconnected from reality. They believe... I'm not straw manning them. I'm steel manning them. I understand and I've listened to what they've said, and they are not living in reality. Okay? So how do I reconcile that, or how do we can't both sides that? Does that make sense? I'm a job test for the last 6 years and we're supposed to be forgiving. You're talking in a way that's intended to win in debate. No, I'm making a point. I'm making a point. Does that make sense? If the earth was flat, cats would have pushed everything off by now. True. I am listening to you, and I'm saying that I am listening to you, and I'm saying that it doesn't make sense to put this in a there's two sides to this when there isn't. Does that make sense? There isn't two sides to this. There isn't two sides to who won the election in 2020. Right? There isn't two sides to this. There's only one objective reality that happened in 2020. Does that make sense? The same thing goes with climate change, right? The same thing goes with climate change. There's no two sides to this. There's no two sides to this. You either prefer to live in reality or you don't. And I can't help you if you don't live in reality. If you refuse to admit to meet up somebody within a basis of reality, then you can't really have a conversation. Does that make sense? The election in 2020 was objectively rigged. It wasn't. There's literally no evidence. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It is delusional to think that way. And I mean that in a literal sense. If you don't believe me, then look up the definition. That literally fits that. There's no evidence to suggest that the 2020 election was rigged in any way, shape, or form. It didn't happen. Was 2016 rigged? No. There's no evidence for that. There was no evidence that the 2016 election was rigged, despite the fact that Trump said it was rigged. Trump said that he was owed like 1 million more votes or some shit. Even Trump said that, it was rigged, and no, it wasn't. So you can't really win with these people, right? On one hand, so basically what you're saying is that the only way that the election is not rigged is if your guy wins. That's not how this works. Okay? At least admits Russians didn't hack it. There's no claim ever that I've seen that says that the Russians literally hacked the election. No. They attempted to influence it. Whether or not that was effective or not is another question. Whether or not they could effectively even do that is another question. But no, the Russians didn't hack the elections. They can't do that. That's not how this works. Anyways, the point being is no, the 2016 election was not rigged. No, the 2020 election was not rigged. There's no evidence of that. So if you decide that that's the world you're going to live in, you are delusional. Okay? That's just, there's no other word to describe it. You are delusional. You are holding beliefs that are completely false, despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary. Okay? And if you want to live in that world, that's fine. Just expect pushback. That's all. Expect pushback. There's no reconciling there's no reconciling with a movement or a party or a side that is not living in reality. You can't reconcile that. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not ceding ground to flat earthers, okay? Because that's effectively what you would ask me to do, and that's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening. I'm not conceding an inch to flat earthers. So no, no, I'm not gonna concede I'm not gonna concede objective reality. Okay, that's not how this works. If something happened, it did or it didn't. It's that simple. There's no evidence to suggest that the 2020 election was rigged. Period. It just didn't happen. There's plenty of court cases. There's plenty of court cases. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that the election was fine. If you want to dispute that, you literally live outside of reality. So yeah, I'm not gonna. There's nothing to do there other than, yeah. There's nothing to converse on a point or on a position from outside of reality. Does that make sense? I took my follow back. Oh no, dude, my feels. Damn. My feelings. My feelings. Folks, we went from 2,257 or 2,258 to 2,257. Folks, it's a sad day. It's a sad day. Sad, sad day. Hey, unelectable airwaves. Nice. All right. Point being is that, yes, while you can reach out to people, and while you can try to have conversations with people that you disagree with, there's no point if the other side isn't living in reality. Okay? There's probably some influencing of the election, but not to any success or noticeable degree. By the Russians? Yeah, maybe. That may have been the case. That's not what Hillary said. I don't give a shit what Hillary said. She lost. I do not give a fuck what Hillary said or didn't say. Don't care. I care about what evidence actually came out. Maybe they just failed to realize that we're not simps for Biden. Maybe. Yeah, because they think that everybody operates like they do. That they rally behind like Trump because that's it. Like that's the only thing. But that's not how it works here. I don't know. Who knows? Anyways. I think I've made my point. And I think it's a pretty sound point. Okay? Whether you feel like it's a debate, tactic, or whatnot, it is irrelevant. The point being is it makes sense. And the ultimate point underneath all of this is that there's nothing wrong with attempting to reach out to somebody you disagree with. But the communication has to be based on reality. Okay? The communication has to be on a platform that's built on reality. I haven't seen any evidence that Trump won the election. I'm worried that it seems like Trump is still going to be the lead candidate of the Republican Party by a huge margin, despite all the new lawsuits. He is the leading party. There's no doubt about it. He is the leading candidate, and he's most likely going to win the Republican nomination. That's it. It is what it is. That is reality. For the Republican side, it is most likely the case, unless something happens that would make it otherwise. But as far as we know, all the polls, all the numbers point us to Trump versus Biden again. That's it. And we've seen the polls even after the 2 indictments happened. It didn't really change much. It didn't really change much at all. So yeah, it looks like it is going to be a Trump versus Biden rematch. Anyways, a perfect teachable moment. Folks, you do not have to concede reality. Okay? You do not have to concede reality. It's that simple. They can only compare themselves to the opposite of what they are. They have no other means of assessing value of a person. That's why to them everything is creation, zero-sum good or evil. The reason low empathy, right-wing narcissists, psychopaths, and authoritarian personalities don't bring reality is that reality does not confirm their megalomania and illusions of control. Therefore, reality gives them an anxiety and they hate it. I mean, clearly, you must not be living in reality to be able to formulate the things that you formulate as, Debates with Trump versus Biden will always be interesting, since Biden can't debate. I don't know if there is going to even be presidential debates. Person has been banned in certain accounts. Everyone welcome. Everyone is welcome. I'm just saying that if you make claims or if you say something, expect to have pushback. This is a public forum, right? You're on a public forum, so if somebody says something that's completely out of pocket, like, I don't know, flat Earth, and somebody gets pushback, then you can't really complain about that, right? Anyways. Yeah, true. Censorship is the new pushback. True. That's what we're all about. I didn't make any claims that his time was out. This channel is dense. No, I think the mods take action for a certain reason. I think you don't have to concede on facts or truth, but it's important to keep the conversation and dialogue open. Otherwise, the bubble around people who believe in things that are wrong will only tighten and constrict further. They'll be surrounded by people that believe the same things that they do. Is important to keep conversing. Yes, but you can only converse. You can only have that dialogue if the person you're having said dialogue with is on a plane that is built on reality. Because you cannot, like, does that make sense? You can't converse. I can't converse with a flat earther, okay? I can't converse with a flat earther. Okay, what arguments and what conversation is that are we gonna have here with a flat earther? Like, where is that productive conversation going to happen? It's not. Scataphone is a Putin fan, by the way. Oof. Maybe you can win them over with the strength of your arguments. Maybe. If they're willing to listen. I mean, I stand by my arguments. My arguments stand on themselves. They're pretty fucking sound. If you've ever listened to me make an argument about a topic, they've been pretty fucking sound, and people still want to fucking, you know, go against reality itself. So, I mean, throwing around insults or showing a lack of respect, regardless of who the target is pretty bad for any conversation. True. I mean, I don't think I insulted anybody. Delusional. I mean, I said that I literally meant that in a literal sense of the word. I even put up, like the actual definition. So yeah, I'm talking about people who do not live in reality. If you think that the 2020 election is stolen, you do not live in reality. If you think that climate change does not exist, you do not live in reality. I don't understand. Oh, that's right. I forgot to tap the diploma. I'm sorry. For the folks who don't understand what this is about, yeah, I forget. Like, I don't even need to be, like, entertaining this. It's pretty freaking clear. So, the diploma on the top right says, I graduated. It's actually awarded to me in the future. This diploma or certificate was awarded to me in 2049. And I have a certificate on the Advanced International School of Bullshit Detection. So, yeah. Anyways. The channel has now been socialized as our channel now. Got it. Give too much credit. People low empathy react to the right because they understand, trust, and recognize them as the same as themselves. Anywho, I mean, like, I think it's been as clear as it's crystal as it gets. So much so that, like, it's pretty understood where I stand, okay? Like, if you try to both sides an issue that has no both sides to it, then, like, first of all, that's pretty dishonest. That's pretty dishonest, and it's a disservice to the truth. And second of all, like, no, I'm not gonna concede. I'm not gonna concede reality an inch, regardless of how I feel about a person or not. Regardless of how I feel about a person or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not dishonest if you believe something that's still honest, even if they're wrong. Yes, it might be delusional, but not dishonest. Dishonesty requires intent. I don't know. It's tough, especially on the internet, because I assume that, like, remember, we're dealing with, like, anonymous accounts on the internet, so, and, like, wasn't that person a streamer themselves? In which case, don't they have the responsibility to be more responsible? ? Isn't science all about both sides? We only make progress by questioning and interrogating assumptions. Yes, and then we find where the evidence leads us, right? Right? If we have, say, 90% of a scientific body saying that X is probably the case, then we should probably move in that direction, right? right? I mean, it's pretty clear. It's that simple. It's that simple. If a body of science that can prove something, a theory, or an assumption, or I don't know, a hypothesis that says X is true, or we've found evidence that X is probably the case, and 90% of that body falls behind and is able to replicate said result, then we should probably say that that's probably in the direction that we should be heading, right? Science is only about truth seeking and testing. It's not about taking sides. Right, well, that is the side. The side is where the body of evidence is moving towards, right? Doctors all used to agree that washing hands was a waste of time. Yeah, and then as more evidence came out, then that body started to move. Nowadays, if you ask the medical body, overwhelmingly, they believe that washing your hands is critical. Sterilization of equipment is critical. Now, that is a consensus. I don't understand the point being made. You're making my point. As more evidence comes forward, as time progresses and we get more, evidence, then we move towards the conclusion of where that evidence points us. That's it. There's literally nothing else to it. You're making my point. No, you're making my point. Or maybe I'm making your point and you're making mine. I don't know. The point being is that if a body of science I'm just saying that if a body of science moves in a direction, then we move in that direction. I don't know. Once a president thought COVID could be cured with bleach. True. I've known scientists that, quote, took a side in the shifting of science, that the advancement of science isn't about taking sides. However, individual scientists can sometimes take sides. Yeah, and they could also be, individual scientists can also be, cracks or quacks. Individual scientists can also be quacks. They can be purposely misleading. It's about where the consensus of the data is pointing. Does that make sense? Because you can find an individual scientist. You can find an individual scientist that will deny climate change, and then you come to find out that that person's probably working with the fossil fuel industry. That happens. But where is the consensus of the data pointing to? That shouldn't be a side. Science and anti-science are the sides you're talking about, and the anti-science is a denial of reality. We understand, especially when talking about science. Yeah, there's no side there. Like, there's no. We're not fighting. We're not fighting. Exactly, SV Harkin. We're not fighting on a platform that is not built on reality. Full stop. Like, I'm not going to contend with you, or I'm not going to argue with you in a platform that is not built on reality. Now, if you want to have an exchange of ideas or an exchange of, a back and forth, then we can do that. But it has to be built on a platform that is on that it has to be on a platform that's built on reality. That's it. I'm not debating a flat earther. I'm not. There's no two sides in flat Earth. Okay, that's the same thing. It's literally the same analogy across the board. There's no conversation to be had with someone who believes that an election was stolen when it clearly wasn't, right? It's the same thing as trying to debate a flat earther. It's just not happening. I think we're in agreement. Well, I certainly hope so. I think my my argument is pretty clear. And I think my point stands by itself. There's a psychology of the contrarian. Flat earthers might be that, a waste of time in life. I mean, like, damn, nothing is more frustrating than like willful contrarians. That is frustrating. Like, people who just want to be contrarians for the sake of being contrarian, that's frustrating. That's annoying. Anyways. Ali with the 10 biddies, thank you so much. Being contrarian is easy. Being a contrarian that's right about something is hard. Yeah, I mean, like, hey, if you're right, then fucking prove it, okay? Then prove it. And make it so that eventually you're, if you're right, then you're right. Prove it. But my point stands. I'm not about to argue with flat earthers. Same thing as I'm not about to argue with people who deny elections. It's just a thing that didn't happen. There's no two sides to that. Okay? There's literally no two sides to that. There's no, oh, I'm just gonna reach it. Like, if you don't believe that, I can't really argue with you. The same thing with climate change deniers. It's the same thing. There's no argument there because you are not living in reality. It's that simple. Anyways. The proposed protective order that we've been talking about in the Trump case submitted by Smith does not seek to bar from Trump from commenting on its case entirety, but would restrict Trump and his attorney from disclosing evidence such as materials returned from the grand jury subpoenas and testimony from witnesses and other exhibits shown to the grand jury. It does not limit Trump from discussing materials that were already available to the public, separate from the government's investigation. Smith's attorney have said the proposed order is largely modeled after similar protective order issued in other cases. But in their filing on Monday, Trump's attorney accused Smith's team of asking Judge Tanya, I'm not even going to pretend to be able to pronounce this, Chutkan, to assume the role of censor and impose a content-based regulation on President Trump's political speech that would forbid him from publicly discussing or disclosing all non-public documents produced by the government, including both purportedly sensitive materials and non-sensitive, potentially exculpatory documents. Trump does not contest the government's claimed interest in restricting some of the documents it must produce, such as grand jury-related materials, but the need to protect that information does not require a blanket gag order across all documents produced by the government. In a quicker response filed Monday night, Smith accused Trump's legal team of proposing an order designed to allow him to try this case in the media rather than in the courtroom. Wait. Who gives a shit? Only the facts matter, whether he did this or not. I don't give a shit. To facilitate the efficient production of discovery to the defense, the government proposed a reasonable protective order consistent with the current practice in the district, the special counsel teams wrote. To safeguard witness privacy and integrity of these findings, the court should enter the government's proposed protective order. In contrast, the special counsel argued that Trump's proposed protective order would lead to public dissemination of discovery material. He's already violated the terms of his release, not surprised. In contrast, the special counsel argued that Trump's proposed protective order would lead to the public dissemination of discovery material. Late Monday night, Judge Chutkan responded to the filing by ordering the special counsel and Trump's legal team to give her two proposed times by Tuesday at 3 p.m. today for a hearing on their dueling protective order motions. The judge said she wants the hearing to take place before Friday and is not requiring Trump's appearance. So sometime, in the next couple days. We'll find out more if whether or not he's going to be under this protective order or not. The sooner they throw him in jail, the better. I don't know. I will hold my breath until I see the trial, because, it's one thing to want and expect, the correct things to happen, and And it's another thing, like, seeing, like, just how, like, brazen this guy is. So I mean, like, I'll see when the conviction is made. If a conviction is set, is done. Judge is doing a good job moving things along. Yes. An update on this case. No, Trump is not going to suspend his campaign. No shot. No shot. Trump is not going to suspend his campaign. He's going to continue. His ego is not going to allow him to. His ego is not going to allow him to. The D.C. grand jury that indicted Trump meets Tuesday as election probe continues. So that means there might be more. That means there might be more defendants coming. There might be more indictments against other people related to that case. He's an inch away from dictator. Why would he stop? I don't know if he's an inch away. I think he does believe. I think he is a dictator. And I think he would be more than willing to act that way. Given... If given the chance, he would be. If given the chance, he would be. But because he operates in a system that has some semblance of guardrails that somehow managed to hold. By a miracle, they held and didn't allow him to do what he wanted to do, which was subvert the election. Which was subvert the election that he lost. Yeah, he would be. So in my mind, he is. In my mind, he is. Just because he couldn't do what he wanted to do does not make him not an authoritarian piece of shit. Right? The federal grand jury in Washington last week indicted former President Trump is meeting again today. A strong sign that special counsel's Jack Smith's investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results could soon add more defendants. In other words, maybe more indictments might be coming. Maybe like Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman. Maybe those folks are in some hot water. Maybe the Kraken lady. Rob Reich put a short video that gives example of how 45 fits into the fascist category. It's really well done. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we've done this, right? We've gone through the Umberto Eco's points and how Trump relates to that. Yeah, 100%. This would not surprise me at all. Sharpie Diesel. I mean, like the strong and the strong and what is it? Strong nationalism. This whole idea that the enemy is both strong and weak. This obsession with the military. This obsession with law and order while also wanting to get away with crimes. Nepotism. Yes, thank you. A return to a mythical past. That's right, the simulacra. We will make America great again. Again. I mean, like, he checks off a lot of the boxes, you know? If Trump were to get elected, we are done for. I mean, it's a bad deal. If Trump somehow manages to win this election, it's a bad deal. Guaranteed. It's a bad deal. Yes, co-opting victimhood, right? I mean, like, literally all the fascists in the early 1900s or whatever, 1920s, is the same shit, you know? We're the victims. Yeah, this is classic. The making of the scapegoats, the other, right? It could be trans people. It could be brown people crossing the border. Remember, they referred to that as an invasion. The otherizing of people, which is the identification of enemies as a unifying cause. I mean, it's classic. Rampant sexism. I mean, here's another one that really hits the mark. The intertwining of government and religion. The manufactured fear makes people susceptible to propaganda and conspiracy theories to new. Yes, of course, it's manufactured fear to a susceptible audience that is meant to receive that. They're not even original in their hate. Nah, it's always the same, right? It's the same boogeyman. It's the same boogeyman. It's it could be queer people, it could be socialists, it could be Jewish people. The same scapegoats. That's right. It's the same scapegoats. Jewish people. It's the Antifa far left, adrenochrome drinking Democrat socialist. Like, it's all the same. It's the same drum that they beat all the time. It's the socialist. It's queer people. It's Jews. I mean, it's the same. Right, because they're the most vulnerable. Yep. Trans people. Yeah, well, that's, falls under the LGBTQ umbrella. But yeah, like, it's always the same. It's always, the LGBTQ people, Jewish people, brown people, socialists, whatever. It's always the same rotating boogeymen. Right. Anyone who doesn't agree with me are just, godless communists who are going to destroy the country. Right, trans kids. So same old story, same old song and dance. Anyways. NBC News reported that multiple members of the grand jury were seen around Eber Prettyman Courthouse in Washington, the same panel that charged Trump with 4 felony counts related to his attempt to reverse President Biden's victory over him. So the TLDR from this is that we might see more indictments, we might see more defendants, and that's great. More accountability. I just find it crazy in Trump conservatives area in Oregon. I see Trump flags for Trump 2024. I want one for Trump 2024 for prison. Oh yeah, that brings me back to the Alex Jones. What is it? Hillary for prison. Alex Jones had those, didn't he? I'm pretty sure Alex Jones had that. Hold on. Hillary for prison. Nope, cannot prove that. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. Or maybe he doesn't sell them the shirts anymore. Or maybe he doesn't sell them anymore. I don't know, but I couldn't find that. I couldn't find it. So, I don't know. I might be misremembering, but... Anyways. Let's switch gears to Florida, of course. Florida district bars trans teachers from using preferred pronouns in bathrooms to comply with state law. A major Florida school district, in order to comply with state law, has issued a guidance that will bar trans employees from sharing their preferred pronouns and force trans students and staff to use group restrooms that follow their biological sex at birth. Orange County Public Schools, the fourth largest district, is in Florida with about 209,000 students at 210 schools, released new guidelines on Monday for the 2023-24 academic year. This memo was issued by the district's deputy general counsel to follow two recently passed Florida laws, HB 1069, HB 1521, which provides restriction on teaching about sex and human sexuality. HB 1521, which provides requirements to use restrooms by gender. Both bills were signed by Governor DeSantis in May and took effect July 1st, last month. The guidance sent to the district superintendents and deputy superintendent, principal, and executive leaders summarizing new rules and punishments laid out in those bills. Under House Bill 1069, a student or employer's sex is defined by their birth sex, the hormones. Definitionally, Definitionally, you're talking about, in one sentence, you're talking about, like, sex. Not the gender they identify with. Now, you just switched it to gender. Whatever. It is asinine. As a result, trans employees and contractors may not provide a personal title or pronoun to students, which does not correspond to the employee's or contractor's biological sex at birth. If you had a teacher that looked like Blair White, I mean, like, how would you handle that situation, right? If you had like a teacher who looks like Blair White, how would you handle that situation? Are you gonna, like, personally, like, check them to make sure? I don't know. Like, how do we deal with this? Or what about a trans man? The bill also mandates that employees and contractors may not ask a student to provide his or her preferred personal title or pronoun. So I guess we're just going to refer to each other by names now. The bill also mandates that employees and contractors may not ask a student to provide his or preferred personal title or pronoun. John Palmerini, the Deputy General Counsel for the Orange County Public Schools, wrote in the memo that educators who are concerned about the usage of pronouns and potential liability can use the first or last name of a student when... Like, this is so ridiculous. Like, you can't simultaneously talk about being the party of free speech or even utter the words free speech, which is referencing about how the government can't compel you the government can't compel speech while you're leveraging the government to compel speech. This is compelled speech. This is using state power to compel speech. They can use the first or last name of a student when calling on the pupil, or their parent may submit a form or use a nickname. All right. This is where malicious compliance comes in, folks. If you know or live in Florida, Orange County Public Schools, malicious compliance, submit forms that to make sure that teachers can use your preferred name if you are trans, so that you don't have to be dead named. Submit a form using that as a nickname, so that they have to refer to you as your name. So yeah, malicious compliance, folks. Use that. Or just get the fuck out of Florida if you have that option. Based off the law, the State Board of Education ruled that educators who violate this pronoun rule can face sanctions or up to the revocation of their teaching certificate. Yeah, so this is compelled. You don't have a choice here. You will speak the way the government tells you to, or else. The House Bill 1521 requires bathrooms other than single-stall rooms to be separated by biological sex at birth. The bill, dubbed the Safety and Privacy Space Act, impacts educational facilities as well as correctional institutions, jails, and now state-owned public buildings. For trans students and employees, must be provided a single-stall restroom for their usage. Trans students and employees may not enter into a group restroom which is designated for sex. Like, bro, like, people are just trying to use the fucking bathroom, man. Like, even in group bathrooms where there's, like, you know, bathrooms where multiple people can go, like, I'm there to pee, okay? I'm not looking at the stall next to me and making sure who's there, okay? It's a fucking bathroom. Nobody is going around looking at other people underneath the stalls, okay? That's not a thing. Unless you're like a creepy, like, I guess, conservative who's concerned that there might be a trans next to you. Correct. Like, that's literally what everybody does in the bathroom. They just, like, go do your business and that's it. Like, I don't go to the bathroom thinking like, oh man, is there gonna be like a girl in this bathroom? Oh, is there gonna be like a trans person in this bathroom? Is there gonna, like, I don't think that way. I just need to pee, okay? I just literally need to pee and wash my hands and go. Like, what are you talking about? Who thinks like this other than like these conservative weirdos? Yeah, just give me a decent locking door and I'm good. Yeah, which like most bathrooms like that have multiple like stalls, most of them do have some kind of locking mechanism. Like, nobody cares. Like, nobody's literally looking under the stalls being like, hey, hold on, whoa, excuse me. I need to know if you're one of them like trans people. Excuse me. Are you boy, girl? Hello? Like, nobody does this. Nobody does this, okay? So the fact that like the state of Florida and Governor DeSantis, who signed this bill, feel the need to be like, yep, we're gonna police bathrooms now, apparently, is both weird and extremely authoritarian. Because like, man, do you really, like, damn, the state really wants to be in the most intimate, like, sections up to and including the bathroom, okay? They really want the state making up rules in the most intimate places, like the bathroom. Because the nonsense, we had to put a sign up so people feel welcome to use the bathroom they want to, and we have a non-gendered one too. That's right. They want it. Yes. Can you spare square? Yes, that's right. They want to police the bathroom. They want to legislate the bathroom. They want to legislate the bedroom. They want to legislate the doctor's office. Yeah, 100%. 100%. The party of just apply. The party of small government, by the way. The party of small government wants to legislate the bathroom, the bedroom, and the doctor's office. You're right. That's a very good point. The law also requires that changing rooms be separated by birth sex. Trans students must be provided a single stall restroom or coach's office when changing for classes such as PE. I mean, like, I gotta go. See y'all. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Way too fixated on closed off locations. Yeah, maybe it's because like it's just weird. Why are they so weird about it? For the people who seem to be so preoccupied with pedos, they certainly seem to be overly yeah, exactly. They seem to be overly preoccupied with sex. Yep. That's a good point. I mean, like, they should have stalls so that you can have privacy when changing for physical education regardless, right? It shouldn't matter. The law requires a penalty for any student who willfully enters a bathroom or changing facility designated for the opposite sex. If the student refuses, the department has to do so by any instructional personnel, administrator, or school resource officer. In such case, disciplinary referrals will be addressed to the dean or the administrator in charge for discipline. Yeah, so you will comply. You will comply. Staffers who use that's a threat. Staffers who use a restroom other than one based on their birth sex. Again, I guess we're checking bathrooms? ? With few exceptions, are also subject to discipline. You will comply. Principals inside administration shall work with trans employees to identify single star restrooms so trans employees may comply with the Florida law. Holy shit! Like, how fucked up is that? Like, listen here, trans people, that's your bathroom, okay? All the way over there. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Just leave them alone. Holy shit. Yes, bathroom is in a home, use the same bathroom, it's not a big deal. Yes, exactly. It's a way to stop inclusion and allow bullying. Yes, it's on purpose. It's on purpose. 100%. The guidance noted if the school district and its employees do not comply with the law, the Attorney General the Florida Attorney General is empowered to file a civil lawsuit to enforce this provision. The willful violations may incur a fine of up to $10,000. That's interesting. It mimics the same amount as the abortion legislation from Texas. The district said Tuesday that the guidance was issued due to state legislative and rule changes around the Parental Bill of Rights since last year, which impacts students, teachers, and staff. Not only is Orange County Public Schools one of the largest in the state, it's also the 8th largest in the nation, is one of the largest employers in Central Florida, with more than 25,000 team members. Yep. That's pretty fucked. We're going to go through this one really quick. Which parents? I don't get it. Yeah, that's a good question. Which parents? Probably a vocal minority. And out of those, how many of them have actual students there? Who knows? And you have guests and workers that have used the same bathroom, right? Yeah. Yeah, and not once have I been like, excuse me, that's not the ladies' room. That's the men's room, or whatever, ? No, you just ask if they have a bathroom, right? Like, whatever. It's silly. It's so silly. But no, the point being is that, yes, somebody brought it up. It's to stop inclusion and allow bullying. It's on purpose. And it's to hurt trans people. That's it. It's to hurt trans people. So a strike is happening. Thousands of LA city employees, including sanitation workers, lifeguards, and traffic officers, walked off the job today for a 24-hour strike demanding higher wages and alleging unfair labor practices. Picket lines went up before dawn at LA International Airport and other locations, and a large rally was held later in the morning in downtown at City Hall. SEIU, local 721 said mechanics, engineers, and airport custodians are among the 11,000 LA City workers who are striking, and to create a system of control over everyone eventually. Yes, if you think that this is just going to stop at trans people, no. Okay? If you think that like this is not going to spill over to everybody else, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Completely 100% correct. This is not going to stop at trans people. This is not going to stop at, at abortion rights and reproductive rights. It's not going to stop at that at all. They're building the infrastructure of fascism, turning neighbor against neighbor. Yes, good point. Good point, because if you see a trans person, using the bathroom that they're not supposed to, like, it's such nonsense. It really is fucked up. But yeah, you're right. It's going to encourage that kind of behavior. The union said its members voted to authorize the one-day walkout because the city has failed to bargain in good faith and engage in labor practices that restricted employee and union rights. City workers are vital to the function of service for millions of Angelenos every day in our local economy. And to our local economy, LA Mayor Karen Bass said in a statement, "These are fair contracts and we have been bargaining in good faith with SEIU 721 since January. The city will always be available to make progress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." Strikers said some employees earn so little they can't afford to live near their jobs, sometimes making 100-mile commutes. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can't work for the city and live in LA, said Mars de Towers, 54, sanitation worker who resides east of LA in the San Gabriel Valley. Destiny Webb, a college student who manages a city pool, said she and her fellow marchers downtown were calling for a 40 to 50% raise and more resources at LA facilities that are poorly staffed. A lot of us are students and we get paid, and what we get paid does not help at all. So with inflation, everything is not working. A pay increase would give younger, part-time employees like her an incentive to stay with the city for a career after graduating. It is the latest strike to overtake the nation's second largest city in recent months. Hollywood writers have been striking since May, and actors have joined them last month. LA auto workers have staged staggered walkouts all summer, and earlier this week, school staff walked picket lines. There's also a contract dispute at the Southern California ports. The city of LA is not going to shut down, Bass insisted, but her office said that some services would be affected, including parking enforcement and traffic operations. This week's trash pickup will be staggered by 1 day citywide until normal service resumes on Monday. I understand, but I missed the late shows. Oh, I get it. Sorry, I'm tired. The LA International Airport urged travelers to allow extra time for travel to and from LAX during these strikes. So on and so forth. Union said they expect 300 lifeguards working at a dozen swimming schools to be on strike. Michael Mitchell, 33-year-old port worker, said many workers are struggling with basic living costs and are simply seeking a fair wage. That's it. That's it. So good on these workers. Like Colbert, yeah. All right, folks, we did it. We managed to get through it. All right, folks. If you guys enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. I really appreciate all the help that you guys have given. Thank you guys. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you for all the subscriptions, the biddies, the follows. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Join us on the YouTubes, as Michael Hassler just put there. Thank you, Sharpie Diesel. Appreciate it. There it is. If you do want to support the channel but can't monetarily, go on the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Yeah, for some reason, sometimes the command works for me and sometimes it doesn't. Anyways, the point being is that thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Viana, I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget, guys, never fold when it comes to objective reality, okay? There's no need to concede objective reality. See ya. Thank you, Michael Astor. Thank you, Heat. I appreciate it. Oh, shoot. I forgot to show the cat. Alright, go to the Discord. I'll post a cat pic on Discord. Alright, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.